Hi guys, I'm Lori Vitale, and on this episode of Lori in the Kitchen, I want to share with you my recipe for orange rolls. Now, this girl over here has been on a total kick. I've been wanting like a cinnamon roll or a sticky bun or something like that, but I didn't want it to be so cinnamony since we just kind of got away from the holiday season and it's like so infused with cinnamon in my opinion. I wanted something a little bit more like upbeat, a little bit more bright. So I decided to make my orange rolls, which I'm telling you, they are outrageously good with a lovely cream cheese glaze. I mean, they're just outrageously good. The ingredients I need for the base is exactly my cinnamon roll recipe for the dough. It's all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, pinch of salt, egg, melted butter, yeast, milk, water, and vanilla. Those are my ingredients for my standing cinnamon roll dough that I use in so many different things, and it works every single time. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm just going to warm up my milk and my water. I'm going to do it in a small little saucepan here just because I don't want to put it in the microwave. I'm just going to bring these to a small simmer. You just want to heat these up till they're about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. You just literally put your finger in there. If it feels nice and warm, it's good enough. The yeast is just 1 packet or 2 1/4 teaspoons of regular yeast, and I'm just going to set that aside until my milk and water are up to temperature, which will not take very long because you don't want this to boil, because otherwise it's too hot and it'll burn it'll kill the yeast. You don't want it too cold because then it won't activate. So I just literally am touching it with my finger once I feel like it's warm enough, which it's getting there. See? Almost there. Then we'll get ready to proof our yeast. I'm too excited. That looks good. I'm just going to take that, put that in just a giant jug or in a bowl or whatever you got. Now in here, I'm going to put a little bit of sugar because sugar, like a teaspoon or so, feeds the yeast, which you want that. That way it just proofs really nicely. Now, there are 2 things that can go really wrong whenever it comes to a bread recipe calling for yeast. I get a ton of emails every day asking why my bread came out really tough, why it didn't rise. There's a few key elements to making dough with yeast that's really important. And the number one thing is that your yeast has to be activated. If the liquid is too hot, it's going to burn the yeast. If the liquid is too cold, it's not going to activate the yeast. If the yeast is expired, whether the milk is at the perfect temperature or not, it's not going to activate it. Therefore, your bread won't rise and be nice and soft and fluffy. It'll be really dense, and it'll be like a hockey puck if you try to eat one. It's just going to be really tough. I'm going to sprinkle my yeast over top. And I'm pretty much just going to leave it there for a few minutes. So while that's going, I'm just going to put my flour, sugar, and salt in my bowl with my standing mixer fitted with a dough hook. This just makes my life a lot easier. You could of course do this by hand, but you'd have to knead it for a long time, and I have my mixer, so I'm going to use it. I'm just going to let that sit there for now, and then once that's proofed, we'll add pretty much everything else. My yeast is looking good. I'm going to add in my melted butter. You really should be able to smell the yeast. That's kind of like when you know if the yeast is good. You should be able to smell it if it's proofing right. Egg, I'm going to add a little droplet of vanilla. I always do, so if it ain't broke, again, don't fix it. Just going to quickly give these a little whisk. That's good enough. Pour this in, and then bring this up and mix this together on medium speed for a few minutes or until it comes together. In the meantime, get a bowl, a big glass bowl, whatever you got. And now you just brush it with some vegetable oil and get that ready because the dough needs to rise in there. So once you have that ready, you're pretty much ready to let this rise, and then once it's where we want it to be, we'll move on to the next step. Just took my dough out of my mixer and I just kneaded it together for 1 second just to pull it together into a ball so I can put it in my bowl. And now just take whatever's left over on your pastry brush, or you can just make it even easier on yourself and just flip it over once, and that way the top is covered. And then cover this with some plastic wrap. Stick it somewhere nice and warm. For me, I've mentioned this a million times, it is inside my microwave with my microwave turned off, of course. It's just where I keep it because there's no drafts, so it just stays in there undisturbed, and I'm going to leave it there for about an hour to an hour and a half, or until it's doubled in size, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. My dough looks amazing. As you can see, it has more than doubled in volume. It's just looking incredible at this point. Now for the filling, you'll need just a few basic ingredients, starting with some softened, unsalted butter, granulated sugar, and a couple of oranges. And I also have a 9 by 13 inch pan here that's been buttered and set aside. So we're ready to go. First thing I'm gonna do is deflate this baby, flour my surface nicely. And I'm going to get this out of here with my dough scraper. And I just kind of knead it for about a minute just to get rid of any of those air bubbles. I'm just going to flour my surface a bit more. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way. And with my rolling pin, I'm going to roll this into about a 9 by 15 inch rectangle. Now I always say that using my baking dish as a guide is perfect because I need the same width, but the length just needs to be a little bit longer. So let me just take my rolling pin. You can see, I mean, this dough is soft, it's pliable, it's just perfection, and it works every single time, which, let's face it, when something works like dough, you don't want to mess with it. Just use that dough, because it's delicious, it's easy to work with, and that we all love a foolproof recipe, don't we? Okay, let's see if that looks right. Length, definitely. Width, pretty much. Just gonna even this out a little bit more in the center. You can also do that with your hands. Brushing off any excess of flour. Okie dokie. I'm gonna just take this butter. It's nice and softened. You want to make sure your butter is really nice and soft because you want to spread this evenly all over the surface. That looks good. I'm just gonna set that there. And now I'm going to just take a couple of oranges and just zest the zest right on top. Oh, before I do that though, hold on. Before you do that, make sure you sprinkle with your sugar. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Sprinkle. It doesn't really matter if you sprinkle first or orange zest later. It really doesn't. I just tend to always do sugar first, but because it just sticks to the butter. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all in the roll. So now I'm gonna go in and just zest both oranges all over the top as evenly as you possibly can. But you know, don't worry about it if it's not too perfect because you're gonna roll this up anyway. Okay, this is as even as it's gonna get. To make sure you don't forget to get the back because a lot of the stuff gets stuck back there. Okay, now you're gonna roll this jelly roll style. I just start at the very, I guess, the furthest edge away from me. Roll it like a jelly roll, like that. At the very last, at the edge, I just kind of pinch them together, and that is going to be the bottom. And that butter, the softened butter, helps hold everything together. Okay. Then I just take the ends, and I'm just kind of, as you can see, I'm just tucking them in. Just tucking them in. Okay, now you're going to cut this into 16 even rolls. What I do is I kind of, you know, guess half. And you're supposed to cut this with like dental floss or something. Who does that? I don't do that. And then I cut them in half. And then in half again. And then when you go and pick them up, pinch the ends together, right? And then just put them in your pan, in your prepared buttered pan. Like so. And these are going to rise and stick together, which in my opinion, any good roll needs to do that. So what makes them so good, I think, is when they get kind of all stuck together and you pull them apart and that softness. Oh, these can't get done fast enough. So just going to continue to fill these up. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to just take a kitchen towel, preferably a lint-free kitchen towel. I'm going to just drape this over the top, and I'm going to let them sit somewhere warm to rise. It'll take about an hour or so. You'll see they get really nice and plumped up, about double the volume, double the size, and they'll be perfect and ready to bake when they are there. That is exactly what you should be looking for. Now at this point, make sure your oven's preheated to 350. I'm just brushing some melted butter over the top of these just to give them a beautiful golden brown crust, and then just face it. A little extra butter never hurt anything. I mean, it's gonna make the tops of these so beautifully golden. And these are gonna go into the oven preheated at 350 for about a half hour or so, or until they are a beautiful golden brown color. Which, by the way, this is the little wonky one right in the corner here. So that'll be a little cook's treat when it comes out of the oven, that one right there. So I'm gonna pop these in for about 30 minutes or until they are golden brown. I'll show you what they look like when they're done and cooled slightly. And then we gotta make a little cream cheese glaze for these. I mean, let's face it, no roll of any kind is complete without it. My orange rolls were in the oven for 30 minutes and I can tell you they smell incredible. Now to make a little cream cheese glaze to go on top of these, in this bowl I've got some softened cream cheese. It's really important that it's softened at room temperature. I've got some confectioner sugar or powdered sugar. I'm going to add just a splash of vanilla to this and some orange juice. The orange that we zested, I'm going to use one of them for the juice. I'm going to start with half and then get this mixed up and see if it's at the right consistency. I'll need about 3 tablespoons or so of orange juice. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to give this a nice mix because I want to make sure everything is nice and creamy and mixed well, and then we'll take it from there. I'm just going to put a bit more orange juice because I want this to be nice and runny, and then I'm also going to scrape the sides of my bowl to make sure everything is incorporated. Now we're not making a frosting, we are making a glaze. So it doesn't have to be super thick and spreadable. I want it to be nice and runny, but still thick enough to hold, you know, to hold on the roll. That looks gorgeous to me. Oh yeah, that is what I'm looking for. Okay, now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this. I'm literally just going to just pour this all over my, I was going to say cinnamon rolls, all over my orange rolls. I just don't like to do this in any particular sort of pretty pattern. The goal is to get this to cover the rolls. They don't have to be completely covered. You just want some of that glaze on each one. And I'm telling you, once you make these, you'll understand why my obsession with any kind of roll is as strong as it is, because they are phenomenal. Now, in true Laura fashion, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to try and go for this middle one, and I'm going to see if I can do this easily, because I do have a rather ridiculously large spatula here, but I have my heart set on this one. And when I have my heart set on something, I feel like doing an evil laugh for some reason. Let's just take a second. Come on, cameraman, and just admire the fluffiness. Just admire that, and then unbelievable. This is embarrassing that I do it for you. There are no words. I'm sure I look ridiculous right now, but these are divine. Sweet, not too sweet, bright from the orange, creamy, glaze on top. They're just absolutely out of this world. LauraInTheKitchen.com will have you covered with the recipe. I hope you make these. Show me a picture on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Bye.